Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking all of the weapons in Wuchang Fallen Feathers on a tier list, breaking them down by their weapon type. First, starting off with the Longswords. Don't want to waste anyone's time, so we'll dive right in. For Longswords, we have the Cloudfrost Edge, the Flamebringer, the Serpents Fang, and the Lashing Whip here. I won't be including the Deluxe Edition weapons as I don't want to include things that people may not be able to use. But the Cloudfrost Edge is the first weapon that we get in the game, and it's pretty lackluster, I'll be honest. It's got the weapon skill here, so it's got the Dash Strike. Nothing special because the Lashing Whip has a much better attack, and you get that so early on in the game that this weapon, despite having a decent a bit of reach to it, as Longswords do, you get much more out of the Lashing Whip, which has better scaling. You can see the agility is 3 and 3 in strength and agility here. And the Lashing Whip, which is a weapon you get very early on in the game, just does things a lot better. So I'm actually going to put the Cloudfrost Edge into the D tier. It just doesn't do anything special that the other weapons we have on this list will do. And I guess I'll next go into the Lashing Whip. Now, what makes the Lashing Whip so good, besides its really cool appearance, is it's very versatile. It's got a huge reach on its attacks. And with Longswords, you recover Skyborn Might on your second and fifth attack. So first attack here, second attack, you see that the Lashing Whip reaches out. So you're much more likely to get Skyborn Might while using this. It's also great because if you need to apply any type of temperaments like Burn or Arcane to an enemy, you're more likely to reach them with this weapon, with that second attack having a large reach to it, and then on that fifth attack it has a large reach to it as well. So you're much more likely to regain your Skyborn Might using this weapon, and it's kind of the all-in-one weapon for this game because you get it so early on. You can apply any elemental damage type to it, and it scales off of two of the easiest stats to get for any build with both strength and agility here. It's just a much better version of the Cloudfrost Edge. This Whip Dance ability here it's an okay ability. I don't use it often. It does do additional damage if you have Poise Break built up on your weapon. The range of it is really nice as well, but you also get that same thing from the second attack. I would say the best thing to do with it is actually use the sword counter here. You can also get it so that every time you deflect an attack, you get a Skyborn Might. So Longswords, anything that's able to deflect is really nice, but this weapon's just an all-around super powerful weapon that you can use the entire game. I've seen a lot of other people use it for the entire game, and with that, the Lashing Whip is a high A tier. I might even just say S tier due to its versatility. This is going to be a weapon you can use against any boss in the game. There's not a lot of weapons like this in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. There's some that are very good against other bosses and some that just come a bit short. And next up is the Flamebringer here, which has 2 skilling and agility and 4 in strength. But its real strength is the Infernal Firebrand here. This gets additional damage whenever you buff with fire temperaments, and you actually get a special ability on your attack. So when using your temperaments here, and then going into using the Infernal Firebrand, you shoot fireballs out when you do that attack. So you can see that there. What's crazy about this is any boss that's weak to fire, so like the tiger fight that we go off in the game, and we fight a dragon as well, they're weak to fire, and if you hug them and just use this attack, all those fireballs will stack up burn, instantly burning them, dealing extra damage, and then you also deal extra damage to them as well. This weapon is extremely powerful if you need to go against a boss that's weak to fire. Otherwise, you're better off using other damage types and better weapons because you can actually apply different temperaments other than fire to this weapon. So it's really limited to just using your temperaments and using the Infernal Firebrand to shoot out those fireballs. But for the bosses that are weak to it, it's extremely powerful. So with that, I would have to say, we're going to put this into the A tier. Why it's so good is it's just into certain bosses, extremely powerful. But against bosses that are strong against fire, you can't do nothing with it. So I think the Lashing Whip just has more versatility. That's why we're putting it up higher. And this one, it can cheese bosses. Again, Tiger and Dragon fights are so much easier with this weapon. And next up, we got the Serpents Fang. Now, this is the only one that's not strength and agility based. It's agility and feathering based. So if you got high feathering, you can actually deal a bit of feathering damage with it. So you can see the weapon damage. You get the slash, blunt, stab, and feathering. So if you got any skill trees that boost up your feathering damage, they'll get affected on this one. It also has a unique weapon attack with a feathering wind strike here, which is pretty useful. And with this blade, you can add any elemental damage type to it. But I think the biggest benefit of this is the Feathering Wind Strike. It does use 2 Skyborn Might, but it has crazy range to it. You shoot out this little blade like that. So this can be a good sword if you got, like, if you're really good at landing the deflect to get your Skyborn Might back. So you can deflect, and then shoot back a blade like that. And it'll actually stack up any type of elemental damage that you apply to your weapon. So if you have Corruption on it, you can shoot a Corruption Blade there. Now, this also, I find this weapon pairs well with the Crescent Arc. The Crescent Arc ability is so useful because it gives you this dodge back, and then you can follow up with another attack as well. That's beside the point. That can go on any longsword, but I'd have to say that the Serpents Fang is actually a really strong weapon. That Feathering Wind Strike, despite costing a bit more, this is the most damaging longsword in the game. I do think if we're going to compare the two of them, that it's probably not as good as the Lashing Whip. So I will put this one up in the S tier too, because Longswords are just, they're good against pretty much all bosses, and these two especially are very useful, with the Flamebringer being very useful against one or two particular bosses, or a few particular bosses, but these are kind of the catch-all. They work on everything. Better weapon skill on this one, especially if you're built around feathering. I built around magic, so I used commonly the Lashing Whip here and use different abilities on it, but very strong. And next up, we have the Thunder's Call here. Now, what's cool about this weapon is it actually gets buffed up if you apply lightning to the weapon. So it has the lightning conduit. If we don't have a feathering, or if we don't have the temperaments applied, it kind of sucks. So after you apply the lightning temperaments to this weapon, the lightning conduit attack that it has will do this little, it'll create this ball here that'll explode and deal damage to targets that are nearby. Normally you just do this attack here without the ball, and it's okay at close range, but for lightning weapons, this is possibly one of the best in the game. Dual blades succeed in not only generating skyborn might really quickly because their attacks come out so fast, but this weapon in particular against bosses that are weak to lightning, which isn't a lot of them. There's actually a lot of bosses that resist lightning in this game, oddly enough, is Elden Ring. Everything was weak to lightning. Yeah, if you want a lightning build, this is a really great weapon for it overall. And I think that this weapon's pretty great too. If the boss isn't weak to lightning here, it's got scaling on agility and strength here with 3 in agility and 2 in strength. The damage is lower on all dual blade, or on all dual blades, but I would say with the lightning conduit, it's actually a pretty useful ability here. So it's fun, especially if you're going for a full lightning build. So with that, I'd have to say that this weapon is probably, I wouldn't say it's the best dual blades. Someone's around low A tier. I'll put a high B tier. We got better dual blades here, and I want to break those down. And next is the unequilibrium blades here. So these only have a 2 scaling and agility. So you do end up getting a little bit less damage than other weapons here. The big downside is also the weapon skill is not that good. You get the spinning kick there, which is okay. You get a follow up there, so you can do a kick and then another kick. I think the attacks look cool themselves, but overall, this weapon just doesn't really do it. It doesn't have the same pure raw damage as a lot of the other dual blades in this game. And there's a lot of them that are just much better than this weapon overall. So yeah, I just feel like this one is kind of like the Cloudfrost Edge, which doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table in terms of its effectiveness. So this is another one I'm just going to put into the D tier. Obviously, it's meant to be kind of a starter blade, and then you get better ones a bit later on. Because next we got some of the more metal weapons in the game. We got the Twin Blades and the Firearm Blades. Those both sound cool, but the Twin Blades, I believe, to be one of the best weapons in the game. It comes with block. Block is so good. It doesn't get another weapon attack, but the thing is, these weapons can clash really easily, and being able to block with this weapon is super useful. So you can just pull the blade up there and block the attacks, kind of like a sword parry. So yeah, this is really great. It doesn't work. Let's say you're fighting Hong Lan and she goes with a sword attack. You can go boom. But then if she pulls out a punch, you don't really get to block it the same way. But the block skill is super useful, and it also has some pretty good scaling. So obviously you got your abilities there you can choose from the skill tree, but it scales 4 in agility, which is better than the 2 in agility from the last one, and 2 in strength. So you actually get quite a bit of damage from this, crafted by the Ming Swordsmiths. This is one of the best weapons in the game. Having a weapon that's so good offensively generates a lot of skyborn might. If you're going for like a spell or a feathering blade build, this works really well because you don't have to spend it on your weapon skill. You can block attacks if you're fast with it. It actually has a pretty generous parry as well. So against any weapon attacks, parry them and boom, come back with a weapon attack like that. This is another weapon that I would have to say is probably an S tier weapon. I'm going to put it above the, I think it could potentially be better than the Lashing Whip in a lot of instances, but the Lashing Whip is more versatile. The problem in this game is bosses move around a lot, and that's why I didn't love dual blades unless it's a boss that kind of stays put. The Lashing Whip will allow you to attack and get the skyborn might on that 2nd and 5th attack because it reaches out and hits bosses that run away. With this, you have a lot shorter of a range, so I feel like this is much more versatile in a lot of instances, but nonetheless, this weapon is still really good. And next we got the Firearm Blades here, which is perfect aim, and what also it has is a 3 scaling in agility and 2 in strength, but it's one of the coolest weapons in the game because this perfect aim, you go boom and dodge and shoot at the enemies. So yeah, this gives you some extra mobility while you're fighting, which I just think is really great. So if you're going against an enemy and you need a dodge, you can pop this out. The perfect aim is really cool because it shoots that projectile at the enemy and kind of staggers them here. So boom, you hit them with that. It's really effective for the, not just like in combat, but just the mobility aspect of it aside, because you can also generate skyborn might with that dodge there. And dual blades being really good at getting the skyborn might, being able to shoot away and dodge with this weapon. Despite not being as good as the block, I still think it's pretty effective overall. And there's just something about firearms and blades and the combination of those. It reminds me of Bloodborne a bit. So Yeah, with this weapon, I would say it's another A tier pick. I'm gonna put it above this one's again good against certain bosses, but yeah, I'm gonna throw it into the A tier. I do think the block is a bit better of an ability, but you can't deny that this is not only a cool weapon but a strong one. Some games have pizza cutters. This game has scissors. The Bitter Severance is actually a really useful skill or weapon. It's got 5 scaling and agility, so it is like the agility weapon of the game. And what's cool about this is you can actually get clash off of the Unbroken Onslaught, so this weapon school where you cut them like a pair of scissors. With that, you can clash with the enemy, which basically makes it so you don't take damage. So it's a nice way to get damage in while also being able to not get hit by damage yourself. And again, like all dual blades, really great at generating skyborn might due to their fast attack speeds. But yeah, love the scissor attack. It's again 5 scaling and agility, just makes it a really useful weapon overall. So with this, I'd have to say that this is probably another S tier weapon. It's just really useful into a lot of fights. The clash is so useful to use. I don't think it's good as block. Like the block just is, I feel like it's a bit more, it's just quicker paced. But the damage getting 5 scaling and agility is super useful. And into spears, we have the Red-Tasseled Spear, which is one of the first weapons you get in the game, and then also Steampowered Spear. So the difference between these, this has 2 scaling and strength and agility. This is 3 scaling and agility and 2 in strength. So your damage is going to be, it depends, I guess. This one does have some pretty decent weapon scaling overall, but the skill from the Red-Tasseled Spear here, not that great. The ebb and flow, you rush forward like this, but you can get hit and interrupted with it. It's an okay one. The spears, my biggest problem with them is their R2 attack is so slow and just, it doesn't feel like a spear attack. I don't know, I think the spears are an okay weapon overall, but if you want something versatile, the longsword's a little bit better. This weapon, I wouldn't say is as good as the steam-powered one, which has this really cool attack where you do that large area effect. Great while you're exploring because it hits in a huge area. What's also nice is the quick draw into this is super useful. So yeah, with normal attacks, you go boom, 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 and then you want to bring out that, you can spin around that large attack. I think it's a great off weapon. It's not going to be your absolute best main hand weapon, but yeah, it's got that really cool weapon attack there, which hits in a huge area of effect, which can be nice to flow in between weapons using. So I guess the Red-Tasseled Spear, we're going to put that probably in the D tier as well. Just, again, one of the weaker starting weapons. And the Steam-Powered Spear, I'm going to put that into the A tier. The swap on it is super useful. It hits in a huge area of effect, and it's pretty damaging as well. And next we have the Malice Sting and the Cloudpiercer. Malice Sting gets buffed if you apply Blight onto the weapon, and also has the Bladeful Escape ability. And then the Cloudpiercer, which buffs up if you have Poise Break on it, similar to the Lashing Whip. Now, with this weapon here, the Bladeful Escape, it's pretty useful. You do this attack there where you jump back and you attack with Blade, which is an okay status in this game. I think, yeah, some people like it, some don't. But it's a decent option, and it gives you this nice ability to attack like that, but you can get hit while you're charging it up. That's just one thing to keep in mind with this weapon. This is the weapon to use if you want to use Blight in the game. And whenever you empower with Blight there, then you go to use your Bladeful Escape. It does buff the weapon up quite a bit. Well, I guess we'll do that again here. So, boom, you have a larger amount of Blight that flies around, and then your weapon is covered in it, so then you can apply Blade a little bit easier. I've had mixed results with using Blade in this game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments though if you really like Blade, because it's alright. This doesn't let you use other types of temperaments on it, so you're really locked into just using Blade, which isn't, again, for everyone. There's some bosses that resist it quite a bit. But when it comes to weapons, the Cloudpiercer, I would say, is one of the best. It is Unstoppable Force here, which is 3 Skyborn Might cost. But this one has a 2 scaling in agility and strength. This is 2 scaling in agility and 4 in strength. So pure raw damage, much better with the Cloudpiercer here, which has the Unstoppable Force, as mentioned, 3 Skyborn Might, but you rush forward and big explosion like that. It's really powerful. It's actually one of the most powerful attacks in this game. The Cloudpiercer is something you do get later on in the game, so it's not like a very early on weapon, but if you're great at building up Skyborn Might, let's say you have an offhand single or one-handed sword and you have this in the offhand, you can use that powerful weapon skill to really do a lot of damage. Despite, again, 3 Skyborn Might is extremely expensive for a weapon skill. It's the most powerful, or most expensive in the game, but that attack is also the strongest attack in the game. So with that, it puts this, I would have to say the Blight is probably a B tier. If you really like Blight, it's good. And the Cloudpiercer is possibly one of the best spears in the game. I'm going to put it at the top of the A tier. I don't think it's an S tier weapon personally. Let me know though, there may be some things about this that are much better. I just feel like it is a little bit lackluster in comparison to some other weapons in this game. Not to say lackluster, but it just costs a lot of points to use its most effective attack there. And next up we have the Gunpowder Spear here, which has 3 scaling agility, 1 in strength, and increases the power of throwables, which meh, throwables are just fair in this game. It also has a lot less damage than some of the other spears here. And with the Flame Strike ability, that's its special ability there, which it's okay. Flame Strike, you, yeah, use the weapon skill, then press the left or right trigger, and you shoot it like a gun. It's kind of cool, but I just never found it to be super strong in terms of his abilities. But yeah, this is a ranged weapon. It's kind of cool in itself. It's something, I guess. So yeah, if you want to shoot at a target, you can go boom, 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 boom. The damage is okay, but yeah, there's no real bosses that'll ever let you use this weapon. So good for exploring and cool, because I love gun lances in Monster Hunter. Great weapon type. But this weapon just comes a bit short when it comes compared to other weapons, just because you're never really going to be able to get that flame strike off against a boss. So unless you got a really good summon that's holding all aggro, that makes this weapon just a little bit weaker in comparison. I'm actually put this into the C tier. There may be a cool use for it. Let me know in the comments if you have a cool use for it. But again, most bosses are never letting you use this attack versus something like the ability here, which lets you block attacks, which pretty much every boss has an attack you can block. Now we're getting to Greataxes, which are some of my favorite weapons in the game. And first up, we have Li Jiao's Fang here, and then the Halberd. With Li Jiao's Fang, it has the Draconic Bombard skill, which uses 3 Skyborn Might, and this is actually the one that the demons that you fight that have the axe will use this attack against you. The Demonic Bombardment does that big explosion, shoot a little cannonball out of the axe. It's pretty cool, but I do think there's better axes in the game. It's got some fun, I guess. The axes in general are pretty fun. If you really like using the high Skyborn Might attacks, it's okay. It has level 1 scaling and agility and 3 in strength, whereas the Halberd has no in agility and 2 in strength. So yeah, the Halberd has the Mighty Blow ability here, which is pretty useful. You do that jumping attack, but there's actually a better weapon here if you want to have something like that. So of both the axes here, the Li Jiao's Fang is actually pretty decent at times. Its ability increases the power of both throwables. So again, another pretty useless ability compared to some of the other axes that we do have in the game, like the Scorn Greataxe and the Cinder Dragoncoil and the Empyrean Greataxe, my favorite. I feel like Li Jiao's Fang just a little bit weaker than some of the other options here. So I might actually put this one around the B tier. There may be another use for it that I'm just not seeing, but Halberd, another weapon that's just outclassed by some of the other weapons in the game, so we're going to leave that around there. And both the Scorn Greataxe and the Cinder Dragoncoil are buffed up by fire, but I don't think they're as good as the Flamebringer Longsword. This one has 1 scaling and agility and 4 in strength for Scorn Greatsword, and the Cinder Dragoncoil only has 3 in strength, no in agility. So with the Scorn Axe here, you have the Combustion Cleaver 3 Skyborn Might attack, which does this big fiery boom, but it gets further enhanced if you buff up the weapon with fire. So we go ahead here and boom, bigger fire explosion and your weapon's on fire. That's pretty cool and all. And then with the Dragoncoil one here, you make sure that you got it buffed up on fire. It's got the Dragon's Breath attack, which you'd have a literal flamethrower. This reminds me of the Puppet of the Future blade from the Liza P DLC, which is basically a flamethrower weapon. This can be cool too, but kind of like the pizza cutter. I guess not like a pizza cutter. You never have an opportunity to use these weapon attacks against a boss. That's the biggest problem with all of them, is that you just never get the opportunity to actually use these weapon attacks. This one's kind of cool though, because it only uses 1 Skyborn Might, so it's not going to be as expensive as the others, so you can just go whee and burn things down. It looks cool. I like using this weapon. It's just it's a fun feeling weapon. But if you're going for fire, the Flamebringer is just better because it can cheese bosses with its attack. The Combustion Cleaver is really cool though. I like these jumping attacks with the axe. The axe is also great for face tanking, but there is one weapon that stands above the rest when it comes to great axes, and that is the Empyrean Greataxe, which increases the power of plunging attacks, 3 scaling and strength, but with the Empyrean axe, you get the Empyrean Crash. This is great for chasing bosses because you jump up like that and crash down like that. It does massive amounts of damage, and if there's ever a boss running away from you, jump after him like this. Yeah, this game, the biggest problem is bosses move around so quickly, and you can kind of counter that with the Empyrean Greataxe. This weapon's also great because you can, obviously, with the skill tree allows you to clash whenever you're doing your heavy attacks and with your quick attack combos. This weapon actually cheesed one of the hardest bosses in the game for me because you can use the leech temperaments on this. It's free to use any type of temperaments. You don't have to put fire on it. And then you can basically face tank with the shield spell, the Echo of Bomagus with this weapon. Cheeses the Zhao Yun fight in this game. So yeah, between these axes here, there's one that stands above the rest. We're going to put I guess the Scorn Greataxe is probably a B tier choice for fire, and I guess I'll also put this Greataxe in here. They're both, for both the fire axes, they're all right. I think the best is the Empyrean Greataxe, and this one is an S tier weapon in my opinion because it's just I would say the most powerful. It's got the Empyrean Crash, so you can chase down enemies. It has pretty much everything going for it. It covers the weaknesses that great axes do have with limited mobility, especially when you get into an attack combo. It's great, and it can make a lot of fights in the game a lot better. Into one-handed swords, the first one we get is the Darkfrost Edge. Now, I put all the other starter weapons in the lowest tiers. This one doesn't belong there because it gives you the evasive maneuver, which lets you cheese a lot of fights in the game. So evasive maneuver lets you get a free dodge in. So you see these cards around you, that's like your ninjutsu. You can block the next attack. So this allows you to kind of almost not face tank, but it makes for a great offhand weapon because if you're fighting around and you swap attacks, you get a free dodge. You can literally press your left control stick and get a dodge from it. So yeah, one-handed swords are the greatest for casting because they generate skyborn might by just existing. If you're moving around, you'll continuously keep gaining skyborn might, so then you can continuously keep doing the evasive maneuver. It's a great offhand weapon. I don't think it's obviously one of the best weapons in the game, but this weapon has a lot of things going for it. It only has 2 scaling and agility, but the Darkfrost Edge's evasive maneuver here is super useful, and for that, we're gonna have to say that this is probably it's around a B tier item. Just because of that skill, and it can carry you from the early game. If you're fighting Hong Lang, who's really hard, put this in your offhand, use that free dodge skill often, and you'll help stay alive. So that brings a lot of value to the game. And next we got the weapons for casting. So if you're going with a feathering build, the Plumed Grace here has 4 scaling and feathering, no scaling and anything else. And then the Astral Blade has 4 scaling and magic and no scaling and everything else. This one here, the Plumed Grace, reduces damage casting while below a certain health point threshold, and the Astral Blade, when using temperance above spells, makes the effect much more potent. So these, again, are for casting. This one has the sacrifice ability, and this one has the awakening seal. So the sacrifice here, it does a bit of damage to yourself, applies blade to you, but it's kind of like some of the weapons in Elden Ring, which apply bleed, build up, and deal damage. So it's pretty strong with that. This is good if you're in a full feathering build. This is probably one of the best weapons in the game. There's a lot of really good feathering spells and abilities in this game, so that's really nice too. But yeah, I think that this is probably the best weapon in the game for a full feathering choice. So with this one, I would say this is another potential A tier, high risk, high reward weapon. So I'm not going to put it high in the A tier, but getting big boosts off feathering is really nice. Now the Astral Blade is interesting. You get the awakening seal here. When you use it, you might feel like it's underwhelming. What it does, it gives you biding time, so you have quicker regeneration of your skyborn might, so it costs 2 to cast, and then you get more back. That's good. Again, it boosts up if you're spell casting, so this is really just useful if you're going to be doing any type of spells. This is that 4 scaling in magic that not a lot of other weapons have that high scaling in, so yeah, it's a good one. I would have to say this one is probably, I might just put in the B. You know what, I might actually put this one down a bit, because yeah, we'll put this one to B. Yeah, they might both just be B tier. Depends really on your build. But we have another weapon that's actually sky feathering based with the Zhanlu Sword, one-handed sword here. Now, this has slash, blunt, stab, and feathering damage, and then also increases spell power as well by a good amount. What it also has is a 5 scaling in feathering and 5 scaling in agility. And it has the Shadowless Blade ability here. So whenever we use this, you do this really quick attack there, it can clash. It's great. Again, for feathering builds, I actually think this one's a little bit better. Overall, it's again, super useful one-handed swords for casting because you generate skyborn might, so you're able to cast them, and yeah, that attack there is really powerful too. And whenever you buff feathering or corruption, it makes the effects more potent on this blade. And when you apply feathering, it's this really cool blue appearance on it, and then when you use a Shadowless Blade, it's even further enhanced there. Yeah, this is probably the best feathering weapon in the game. It is a little bit later that you do get this weapon, but again, feathering builds are pretty strong in here, so I'm gonna actually say this one is the A tier one-handed sword here. Just really useful with that ability to get buffed up with feathering. So if there's bosses that are weak to feathering, this is a great one to use. And finally, the Boreal Abyss here. This is the true frostbite weapon of the game. Makes the potent effects of frostbite more effective on your weapon. 3 scaling and agility. Now, what this does is whenever you apply the frostbite to the weapon, you get the Icebound Escape, which is a jump attack there, which shoots out those kunai, and it deals pretty good frostbite build up. So yeah, this is pretty cool. If you want to go full in on a cold build, some of my favorite builds in the game, in any game, this is the way to do it. That dodge is also really useful, especially because you do get charges up really quickly for this weapon. One-handed swords are the best at getting the skyborn might just passively. So you can actually, what's nice is if you're attacking with another blade and then you need a dodge, press the left stick and you get that dodge backward shooting at the kunai. So it's again, one-handed swords are probably the best offhand weapon if you need something like a dodge, but I still think that if you're going to go with a dodge, the Darkfrost Edge is a pretty good weapon for most of the game, but this just offers another one too. So that in itself is pretty effective. So we'll put this one probably, it's probably about B tier in total honesty. If you want to go frostbite, it's the best way to do it, but Yeah, there's the list. The Lashing Whip, I think, is possibly the best weapon in the game. The reason I'm saying that, the bosses in this game run away. And if you're struggling against Skyborn Might, this weapon's second attack will reach out, grab the boss, and its fifth attack, which all of those attacks will actually build up Skyborn Might. So you can apply any temperaments to it. It does get a boost off of Poise Break, which buffs up its attacks, which is nice. Poise Break's almost like bleed in this game, kind of weird how they describe it. It's not an actual posture break. Before scaling agility 3 and strength, this is a weapon that can carry you through the entire game. Its extra reach is just an extremely valuable asset to it. So that is what I believe to be the best weapons in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Let me know your thoughts though in the comments. There's always things that are cool that kind of, you got two weapons that combine together to make a really cool pairing. Let me know that in the comments as well. I love this game. It's pretty fun so far, and been through it in New Game Plus. Really enjoying it. But let me know your thoughts on the weapons as well. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. I hope you have a great day. We'll catch you all in the next video.